Third oral question, Baroness Pigeon.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
The full transition to zero-emission buses is a vital part of the government's plan to make buses better for passengers and to realise the benefits of lower running costs, cleaner air and smoother, quieter journeys. The Department's spending envelope for the financial year 2025-26 was announced at the budget. Careful consideration is being given as to how to maximise the benefits of zero-emission buses funding against our departmental objectives.
My Lords, many of the large bus companies have invested significant capital in new electric and hydrogen buses alongside government zero-emission bus funding. But there are currently no dedicated government funding streams post-2025. When can we expect a new detailed funding round to help transform bus fleets across the country?
The Noble Baroness will know that bus operations across England are generally managed by operators and they ensure that depots are configured to accommodate their fleet. It's they who must apply to distribution network operators to apply for grid connections. The Department for Energy Security and Net Zero announced the newly formed National Energy System Operator has been asked to produce the first strategic spatial plan for energy, and they are also looking at reforming the connection process. Both of those actions will help bus operators. It's their investment in their depots that enable electric buses to run.
Will the Minister agree with me to congratulate the Harrogate Bus Company, which is electrifying its fleet at the moment, and not only electrifying the buses, but also bringing in innovative arrangements for charging en route? A very noble effort.
I would agree with the Noble Lord that actions like those taken in Harrogate to electrify bus fleets have real benefits, and actually the innovative technology, for example, that allows charging in the course of the journey is also to be lauded.
Would the Noble Lord the Minister agree with me and with Green Party policy that actually improving our bus services is a crucial part of fighting climate change, because it actually enables people to get out of their cars that many people, as they get older, don't want to carry on driving?
I don't think that's just Green Party policy, but I do agree with the Noble Baroness that actually that principle of encouraging public transport and bus use is absolutely what we need.
As the number of electric buses being purchased by operators increases, the cost of actually producing these buses is falling. When does the Department for Transport expect the total cost of ownership of a bus, including its operation and the reduced operation costs, to actually be the same as the traditional vehicle?
The Noble Baroness raises a good point, and the whole purpose of encouraging the production of electric buses is in order to ensure that the market develops and the costs fall. I don't currently have an estimate of whether or not the cost of these vehicles will ever equal the cost of traditional diesel buses, but what I can say is that it's absolutely the right move, and the support given by successive zero-emission bus schemes is contributing to the manufacturing industry keeping abreast of technology, to the general reduction in cost. I'll see whether we can find any figures, and if we can, I shall write to the Noble Baroness with them.
My Lords, in 2021, the previous government consulted on the end of the sale of diesel buses, but never made a decision. Will the new government provide clarity over the date for the end of the sale of diesel buses in order to provide confidence both for the bus industry and franchising authorities and certainty for the supply chain?
My understanding is that progressively the production of zero-emission buses has resulted in vehicles that have more and longer capability of working a full day. The experiment referred to earlier in Harrogate, which is about charging vehicles during the day, is one of the ways of ensuring that the bus industry will have the opportunity in due course of replacing all diesel buses with electric buses. I can't currently answer the question about when that will be, but what I do know is that that experiment is one of a number of things which needs to happen in order that vehicles can be purchased with confidence to do all the jobs that buses do in England, Wales and Scotland.
My Lords, can I applaud the Noble Lord the Minister for his retrofitting of one of his route masters with a more environmentally friendly engine? Given that, is the Noble Lord the Minister aware of any schemes to encourage bus companies that operate at the moment to retrofit their existing stock rather than scrapping and having to buy a new one, given the environmental life cycle costs?
The Noble Lord refers to a vehicle built in 1962 which has Euro 6 emission standards. Personally, I haven't yet got quite to the stage of fitting one of those vehicles with batteries, but you never know. I think the serious point here is that these vehicles last an average of 15 years. So actually taking steps for most or all new vehicles in the fleet to be zero emission is obviously the way of converting the entire fleet within a reasonable length of time.
My Lords, as the diesel bus fleet gets older, the risk of leakage from exhaust into the cabins of those buses goes up. And is the government giving any guidance to bus companies that have these old buses over carbon monoxide monitoring to protect their drivers and passengers from low-level carbon monoxide exposure, given the evidence of harm from that over time?
What I can say to the Noble Baroness is that the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency inspect on an annual basis and on a random basis all types of bus and coach in order to make sure they comply with the correct standards, and one of those standards is no leakage from the exhaust. I'll take away the point that she raises about carbon monoxide monitoring to check and make sure and write to her that that actually is being considered across the country.
My Lords, on hydrogen powered buses in particular, when TfL put the hydrogen fuelling infrastructure into a single depot in order to run hydrogen buses in London, it turned out to be a very, very expensive undertaking indeed. And the government has made no estimate or offered no estimate of what it's going to cost to achieve this sort of conversion, particularly in relation to hydrogen. Does he ever reflect that persons on modest incomes might have preferred this money to have been spent on maintaining the bus fare cap at £2 rather than increasing it by 50%?
Well, the Noble Lord is as knowledgeable about the original hydrogen fuel cell installation in London as I am, because it was under my control that it was put in. And of course the truth is that an installation for 3 vehicles out of a fleet of 8,000 would be proportionately enormously expensive. But it was there for a reason, which was to experiment with hydrogen fuel cells, and the result of it has been generational change in fuel cells for vehicles, and the government believes in appropriate circumstances hydrogen is one of the ways of getting zero emissions. So actually you don't get technical progress without experimentation. What you expect is the cost to decline, and that together with electricity will be the way of producing zero emission buses and bus fares at reasonable prices.